Majora's Mask is one of the most beloved, unique Zelda games ever made, and one of the most memorable elements to this game for most players is the masks. Throughout the years, there have been many articles, videos, and tier lists about which mask is the best in the game. And instead of me just giving my opinion, I made a Google Forms survey and got hundreds of people's opinions on this subject to get a more scientific view about which mask is the best. Before we get into the masks, I asked 3 questions first. The first question was, what platform did you beat Majora's Mask on for the first time? Exactly 50% of people beat it on Nintendo 64, and only 17.5% said 3DS. I honestly thought that number was going to be a little bit higher. And the fact that the Gamecube Collector's Disc was higher than the Wii's Virtual Console, that really surprised me also. And there's one platform that was on this list but only got a single vote, so it's not even visible on this pie chart, and that being emulating the 3DS version of the game. Next question I asked is if they preferred Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, and 70.3% of people preferred Majora's Mask. And the last question I asked is if they've beaten Majora's Mask, and 58.7% of people have 100%ed the game. From this point forward, I'm only going to be using the data from people that have 100% of the game. Originally, I was going to include the data of the people that got all 24 masks also, but just because you've gotten all 24 masks doesn't mean that you've used all of them. For instance, just because you've collected the Gero Mask doesn't mean you've done the whole Frog Choir side quest for the heart piece. So by only including the data from people that have 100% of the game, they've done every side quest each mask has to offer also. Therefore, I feel they could more accurately rate the mask. And with all that being said, let's check out the ratings of these masks. First up is the Postman's hat. The first question I asked was, do you like/enjoy this mask? Consider the aesthetics and function of the mask. 28.8% of people like this mask. The next question I asked is, what is your favorite mask considering aesthetics and function of the mask? And not a single person said the Postman's hat, so that's at 0%. The last thing I asked is, what is your least favorite mask considering the aesthetics and function? 9.7% of people said the Postman's hat. Since we're going to be comparing every mask in the game with these 3 stats, I devised a formula to combine these stats together. The formula is pretty simple. You just multiply the favorite percentage and least favorite percentage by 2, then you add and subtract those numbers from the like percentage. The reason I multiplied the favorite and least favorite by 2 was because simply adding and subtracting them, it felt like it didn't give those stats enough weight. And when I tried multiplying them by 3, it gave them a little bit too much weight, so 2 was a nice happy medium. So that gives us a final score of 9.4, which is honestly a pretty bad score. I think this is because it's your reward for completing one of the hardest side quests in the game, Andrew and Kafei side quest. And if you want to get the bottle from Kafei's mom, you're going to have to do this side quest twice, which makes it that much more tedious. The whole function of this mask is to check mailboxes, and the purpose of that is pretty much only getting 1 heart piece. In the 3DS version, however, it got one more purpose. If you wear this mask in the swamp fishing hole, it can help you catch a postal salmon. And lastly, in Majora's Mask, people are expecting masks, not hats, so I don't think that helped either. Next up is the All-Night Mask. 39.3% of people liked it, 1.3% said it was their favorite, 9.4% said it was their least favorite, which brings it to a total score of 23.1. So to obtain this mask, you have to beat the Oceanside Spider House on day 1 on the Nintendo 64 version and any day on the 3DS version. And for collecting all 30 Scotchulas in the Spider House, you get the Giant's Wallet. With the Giant's Wallet, you're finally able to purchase the All-Night Mask for 500 rupees. So I understand people's frustration with obtaining this mask. But it does have a really cool purpose. It lets you listen to Grandma's stories to obtain 2 extra heart pieces, and it also tells a bunch of extra lore about the game. Next up is the Blast Mask. 73.1% of people liked this mask, 2.3% said it was their favorite, and 2.3% said that it was their least favorite. So the favorite and least favorite cancel out for a final total of 73.1. This mask pretty much gives you a free bomb at any time, so I'm really surprised that the same amount of people said it was their least favorite as favorite, because for me this is one of my favorite masks. Next up is the Stone Mask. 69% of people liked this mask, 2.6% said it was their favorite, and 2.3% said it was their least favorite, for a total score of 69.6. This is another really useful mask, making it so you're unable to be seen by some enemies, and this mask is incredibly helpful in the Pirate's Fortress. In the 3DS version, this mask is a little bit different. In the Nintendo 64 version, you find Soldier Gero at the Road to Icona, and you give him a red potion, and in return he gives you the Stone Mask. In the 3DS version, Soldier Gero has been moved to the Pirate's Fortress, which does make a little bit more sense. Also in the 3DS version, this mask can be used in the ocean fishing hole to catch a bashful angler fish. Next up is the Great Fairy's Mask. 55.1% of people liked this mask, 1.3% said it was their favorite, and 2.9% said it was their least favorite, for a final score of 52.5. I'm kinda surprised this one scored so low, because this mask is incredibly useful in all the temples in the game to collect the stray fairies and get all the stray fairy rewards. Now for the first transformation mask, and the way we start the game, the Deku Mask. 83% of people liked this mask, 3.9% said it was their favorite, and 0.6% said it was their least favorite, for a total score of 89.6. So this is by far the most popular mask so far, and it makes sense because the Deku Mask is just incredibly useful throughout the entire game. Next up is the Keaton Mask. 44.9% of people liked this mask, 0.3% said it was their favorite, and 0.6% said it was their least favorite, for a final score of 44.3. This mask is pretty unique because it's in Ocarina of Time also, and the fact that Kafei wears this mask throughout almost the entire game makes it pretty mysterious for a first-time player. It makes sense why it's rated so low, because as fun as the Keaton quiz is, it's pretty much a one heart piece mask. Next up is the Bremen Mask. 54.5% of people liked this mask, 3.6% said that it was their favorite, and 0.3% said that it was their least favorite. So that gives it a total score of 61.1. This mask pretty much has a single purpose, rounding up the chickens to get the bunny hood. Next up is the fan favorite bunny hood. 92.9% of people liked this mask, 29.1% said it was their favorite, and 0.3% said it was their least favorite, so that gives it a total score of 150.5. The bunny hood lets Link run faster, so it can be super helpful throughout a playthrough of Majora's Mask. Next up is Gero's Mask. 24.4% liked this mask, 0% said it was their favorite, and 11.7% said that it was their least favorite. So this gives Gero's Mask a final score of only 1. This is one of the most hated masks in the game, mainly because of how tedious the Frog Choir side quest is. You have to beat Goat in Snowhead Temple to turn Mountain Village back to spring, plus you have to backtrack to the Great Bay Temple and the Woodfall Temple. After all that work and finding all 5 frogs, you only get a heart piece. Next up is the Mask of Sense. 18.9% of people liked this mask, 0.3% said it was their favorite, and 18.1% said that it was their least favorite, which gives it a grand total of negative 17.3. So this mask is obviously really hated, and one of the main reasons why is that it's almost useless. The Mask of Scent is used to find mushrooms. These mushrooms can be given to the Magic Hague's potion shop to get a blue potion for 60 rupees. These blue potions can help with the Iconic Canyon area. But in the Iconic Canyon area, there's a business scrub that sells blue potions for 100 rupees. So the amount of work it takes to find the mushrooms and go to the Magic Hague's potion shop really isn't worth it when you can just spend 40 more rupees and get it right at Iconic Canyon itself. The only real purpose that this mask has is in the 3DS version, because if you're wearing this mask in the swamp fishing hole, it can help you find a fragrant reek fish. Next up is the Goron Mask. 87.9% of people liked this mask, 10% said that it was their favorite, and 0.3% said that it was their least favorite, so this gives it a grand total of 107.3%. This percentage makes total sense to me. For me, I think rolling around as a Goron is one of my favorite things to do in Majora's Mask. Next up is Romani's Mask. 33.7% of people liked this mask, 1% said it was their favorite, and 1% said that it was their least favorite, giving it a final rating of 33.7. I'm kinda surprised that this one scored so low because the Romani side quest to get it is a lot of fun. The whole alien thing is so cool, and the fact that this one has a cool purpose too, finally allowing you to go into the milk bar. Next up is the Circus Leader's Mask. 25.1% of people liked it, 0.6% said it was their favorite, and 9.4% said it was their least favorite, which gives it a final score of 7.5. To obtain this mask, you go through a pretty cool side quest in the Milk Bar. You talk to Toto, the manager of the Zora band. You have to use the various different instruments from the Transformation Mask to play Ballad of the Windfish. Once you play this, Gorman will give you the Circus Leader's Mask. The thing is though, in the Nintendo 64 version of the game, the only purpose of this mask is to help get Romani's mask, which you need to get this mask in the first place. If you wear this mask during the segment where you're transporting Cremia's milk, the bandits won't attack you. In the 3DS version though, they added a whole new side quest with this mask to obtain an empty bottle. Next up is the Kafei Mask. 32.2% of people liked this mask, 0.3% said it was their favorite, and 4.2% said it was their least favorite, giving it a final score of 24.2. Overall, this mask is pretty disliked, even though it has a lot of uses when it comes to the Andrew Cafe side quest. Next up is the Couples Mask. 41.5% of people liked this mask, 0.6% said it was their favorite, and 8.7% said it was their least favorite, giving it a total score of 25.3. This one makes sense to me. This is the reward you get for completing one of the longest side quests in the game, and the only use is pretty much a single heart piece from the mayor's office. Next up is the Mask of Truth. 57.3% of people liked this mask, 2.6% said it was their favorite, and 1% said it was their least favorite, for a final score of 60.5. This mask has a lot of uses. It lets you read gossip stones, which usually contain helpful hints, and it can really help with getting the heart piece from the dog race because you're able to talk to the dogs. Also, in the 3DS version, if you wear this mask, it can help you locate grottos. Now for the Zora Mask. 89.2% of people liked this mask, 13.3% said it was their favorite, 0.3% said it was their least favorite, and that gives us a final score of 115.2. I'm a bit surprised that Zora Mask beat out the Goron Mask just because rolling around as a Goron is so much fun and is so useful, but the Zora Mask is a great mask that really perfected swimming. A lot of games don't have good water movement, but the Zora Mask makes it so easy to move around water, and it just feels amazing. So I think that this mask definitely deserves this rating. Next is Kamaro's mask. 47.1% of people liked this mask, 2.6% said it was their favorite, and 6.1% said it was their least favorite, for a grand total of 40.1. This is definitely one of the creepiest masks in the game. You get it for healing Kamaro, and you get to learn Kamaro's dance, which you can use to get a heart piece from the Kamaro sisters. Next up is the Gibdo Mask. 44.9% of people liked this mask, 0% said it was their favorite, and 0.6% said it was their least favorite, which gives it a total score of 43.7. You get this mask from healing Pamela's father, and this mask lets Redads and Gibdos recognize you as their own. This mask is mainly important to complete the Bottom of the Well side quest. Also, in the 3DS version, the Gibdo Mask can be used to catch an ancient fish in the swamp fishing hole. Next is Garo's mask. 40.6% of people liked this mask, 1.3% said it was their favorite, and 2.3% said it was their least favorite, which gives it a final score of 38.6. This is the only mask that was completely redesigned for the 3DS version, and this redesign honestly makes sense. This is because when you're wearing the Garo's mask, people call you Master. So therefore, it makes more sense to be wearing a Garo's Master's mask instead of a Garo's Grunt's mask. You get this mask from beating the Gorman brothers in a race, and its sole purpose is going to Iconic Canyon, but it can also be used to summon Garos. Next up is the Captain's Hat. 53.3% of people liked this mask, 1.3% said it was their favorite, 0.3% said it was their least favorite, which gives it a final score of 55.3. The Captain's Hat is obtained from Captain Kita, and it allows you to open graves in Icona Graveyard. Next up is the Giant's Mask. 54.8% of people liked this mask, 1.9% said it was their favorite, 5.2% said it was their least favorite, giving it a final score of 48.2. The Giant's Mask is obtained in the Stone Tower Temple and is used to help defeat Twin Mold. The way this mask works is a lot different in the 3DS version, and a lot of people would say for the worst, so that might be part of the reason why so many people said it was their least favorite. And now for the final mask, the Fierce Deity Mask. 92% of people liked this mask, 19.7% said it was their favorite, and 2.3% said that it was their least favorite, giving it a final score of 126.8. So this is the second most popular mask in the game. I honestly think this could have beat out the Bunny Hood if you were allowed to wear the Fierce Deity Mask anywhere, but since you can only use it in boss battles, I think that's what brought it down a little bit. Here's what the masks look like with their final scores on the mask selection screen. And here are the masks arranged worst to best. I think you guys did a great job with placing these masks. This looks like the definitive list right here. It's kind of cool to see the usability go up the higher the rating. One thing that really surprised me though, is over half these masks have a rating under 50. As fondly as we remember these masks, if you really look at them, a lot of them are just one-case uses. So that's all the data for the masks. Now let's check out the 4 temples. First up is Woodfall Temple. The first question I asked was, do you consider this a good temple? 86.3% of people did. The next question I asked is, what is your favorite temple? 14.9% said Woodfall. The next question I asked is, what is your least favorite temple? 14.1% said Woodfall. Using the same scoring system I talked about earlier, this gives this temple a final score of 87.9. If we compare this to the mask ratings, this is a pretty respectable rating. With 4 temples, the average favorite or least favorite rating is 25%. So it feels like people don't have strong feelings one way or the other. Next up is Snowhead Temple. 76.6% of people liked it, 17.7% said it was their favorite, 29.1% said it was their least favorite, giving it a total score of 53.8. So overall, not as good as Woodfall, but still an alright score. Next up is Great Bay Temple. 67% of people liked it, 12.1% said it was their favorite, 40.6% said it was their least favorite, which gives it an overall score of 10. This one really surprised me. I've always liked Great Bay Temple, but I'm obviously in the minority. So this temple is definitely pretty hated. And now for the last temple, Stone Tower Temple. 89.1% of people liked this temple, 55.3% said it was their favorite, 16.2% said it was their least favorite, which gives it a final score of 167.3. I'm honestly really surprised that Stone Tower Temple rated this high, even higher than the Bunny Hood. Stone Tower is literally rated higher than the other 3 temples combined, which is just crazy to me. Overall though, all these temples have an over 65% like rate, so I think it shows that Majora's Mask definitely has some pretty solid temples. If you're looking for more surveyed style videos, I'd recommend checking out this video I made about Mario 64 and all its courses. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you could leave a like or maybe consider subscribing to the channel, I would really appreciate it, and I hope that you all have a great day.